There we go. Dallas, Jenkins. You know, this is actually, I've known you for a while.
Yeah.
Actually, the first time we've ever met in person.
Yes. You've been helping with this show and talking about the show and curious about the show since well before we were cool, so I appreciate it.
Well, it's mostly my wife.
Good.
Who buys all the merchandise, by the way. I have a whole shrine to the Chosen.
Good to know.
T-shirts, hoodies.
Good. I'll thank her when I see her.
And you know, it's been a joyful ride for all of us to see what people can do, because this wouldn't happen if it wasn't for everyday people getting involved with something that they want to see on television.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that's really cool about this show is that it doesn't come from a big place, meaning unlimited resources to do it, but also the approach of it, saying, all right, we got a huge story to tell, let's put this up on a big platform. It started very small, started very humble, and we try to remain so, even though the audience has gotten big and the story has gotten bigger. Our approach to it remains small, humble, from a group of broken, flawed people who are just trying to tell a human story.
What I love about the evolution of The Chosen is the fact that, as you say, it's small, it's humble. You didn't take the the DeMille approach.
You're right.
To this, make it bigger than it needed to be. You actually humanized it. Yeah. And there are people that are angry about it, people that love it, but it causes discussion.
Yes.
Which is the most important thing.
Yeah, and I think we often describe this. We're taking a big story and actually making it smaller. And not literally, meaning the story itself, we're not changing the story itself, but we're just reminding you of something that maybe we often forget, which is that these were human beings who had relationships, who loved each other, some who hated each other, and the human authenticity is something that we really strive for, as opposed to putting this big story on a huge backdrop. I think it has been the secret sauce. I think people see it and go, oh, I forgot that these people aren't stained glass windows.
Yeah, and as we get into the Last Supper, these first couple of episodes, we see a different side of Jesus that we haven't really, you've touched on it, but you haven't seen this before, which is both kind of scary and kind of wonderful.
Yes. I think it's important for us to know that Jesus is a God with many facets to his personality, for lack of a better term. I think a lot of times within religious circles, but oftentimes within just regular friend circles, political circles, Jesus is sometimes used for our own means. Well, we might think Jesus is loving and kind and gentle and cares about the poor, and so that's the most important thing about Jesus, and so that's what I'm going to use for my political perspective, and I'm going to use to justify my political ends. And they like to ignore the justice side of Jesus, the kick butt side of Jesus. And that happens on the other side as well, saying, Jesus is a justice guy, so we're going to fight for justice. We're going to fight for rightness. We're going to defeat our enemies because Jesus talked about division and a sword. And I think it's important to understand all aspects of Jesus. And in season 5, though, we get to kick a little butt, which is fun.
And I'm going to bring up something that probably nobody will bring up. Because we always talk about Jonathan and Elizabeth and Noah, and what a great cast you have. But I want to comment on the music, because the music in your series is so good. It reminds me so much of a Bernstein type score or Bernard Herrmann.
Sure. Yeah, because the music isn't, we use this term, insisting on itself. It's not forcing you to feel something. It's collaborating with what's happening on the screen. And Dan Hasseltine and Matt Nelson, who are our co-composers, I approached them before the show started. And I said, I don't think I can do this show without you. Because they see things differently than the average person, and certainly even than I do sometimes. And so the rule is there are no rules. We're not saying, okay, this is a 2,000-year-old story, so we need to have 2,000-year-old music. Or this is a biblical story, so it has to feel like biblical music, which is how you oftentimes associate Bible projects with this big orchestral thing. They're very specific, very nuanced, and it is on the Mount Rushmore of reasons why the show has resonated with people.
In our final seconds that we have, and thank you, by the way, I know how busy you are, what do you think audiences are going to take away from season 5?
Well, I hope that when people watch this season, they look at the people who follow Jesus and the enemies of Jesus, And they recognized that those people were told explicitly by Jesus what was going to happen. Not only did they not understand it, they didn't even believe it. They was like, well, okay, he must be speaking in metaphor. Can you as a viewer today, when you don't understand, can you still trust? Can you still follow? Can you still believe? Judas couldn't. Because I don't understand, I reject. And I think we make that mistake sometimes today. If I don't understand something, it must be wrong, I will reject it. And sometimes it means we need to seek further understanding or recognize that maybe we're not correct all the time, and maybe we need to break down our own ego and become humble followers and listeners.
Dallas, it's so good to see you and meet you, and congratulations on everything you do, including the Christmas movie.
Absolutely.
What a great
Thanks.
thing.
Thanks again.
Thank you.